Today the topic is about mental health, a deep crisis amongst youth today. Today every other person is in depression. Every other youth is overthinking. Every other youth is worried about his future, his existence, and they are deeply entrapped with unwanted addictions which are ruining their life. From Arjuna's anxieties to today's current youth dilemma, what is Krishna's way of handling things? How, if we can blend the teachings of Lord Krishna from the Bhagavad Gita and can implement this into our lives today, it can transform not only kids, youth, and even people at large can transform their lives. That is a message of Bhagavad Gita. Let us deep dive into these principles, eternal principles, applicable for everyone across all ages. So before we do that, let us seek the blessings of our spiritual master so that this can be understood, appreciated, and implemented in our lives in a simple, crystal clear way. नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन्निति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. These days, when we see youngsters especially, they're glued to their screens, the mobiles. They're addicted to various unwanted things, and that has ruined their physical, mental, and spiritual health. And how the teachings of Bhagavad Gita can transform their life is what we're going to discuss. It's a timeless teachings from the Bhagavad Gita for today's emotional turmoil amongst all walks of people, especially for the youth, those who are watching this. The battlefield within. Arjuna was in a battlefield. His dilemma, his trauma, his anxiety arose when he saw his dear and near ones standing in front of him and ready, more eager than him for the battle, to wage the battle against him. When he saw his dear and near ones was exactly standing in front of them to do what is unthinkable for him, but eventually all those problems, issues which they couldn't sort out on a mediation platform. They had to come to this war. So when he saw this, the Bhagavad Gita begins actually on a battlefield. But Arjuna's true war is internal. He was overwhelmed with emotion, doubt, and despair. He breaks down, but not like the mental health breakdowns many youth silently endure today. It was on a different scale, but nevertheless, we have common similarities. Let us take few examples. Arjuna's world collapses when facing loved ones across the battlefield. Similarly, today's youth face breakdowns in classrooms, relationship failure, and families at despair. Just as Arjuna collapsed in the battlefield, not ready to fight, giving reasons of the reasons why he should not fight. Similarly, the current young generation is under tremendous pressure from within. Breakups, drug abuse, relational chaos, overthinking, anxiety, analysis paralysis, career pressure, fear of failure, existential threat itself. What is the purpose of my life? They would ponder. So let us walk over through few points which I would take, especially from the first chapter of Gita and second, and compare with them with today's emotional challenges. In the first chapter, we would analyze it as observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Arjuna's emotional breakdown, emotional honesty is reflected in the first chapter. He says in the first chapter, 28th verse. My dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a fine spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up. He was a topper of his time. He was from the Ivy League. He was accomplished warrior. He had a lot of accolades and awards in his kitty. But at this point of time, he broke. Similarly, our youngsters, they were toppers in their 10th standard and 12th standard. The moment they get into the engineering colleges or typical graduation, or sometimes even when they start working in the real field, they experience this. So Bhagavad Gita, from the first chapters, 28th verse to 30th, he actually tells his dilemma. In my body is trembling, my mouth is drying up, my bow Gandiva is sleeping. I don't know what to do. And one thing about Arjuna in the first chapter, in fact, second chapter, he concludes that he understood his difficulty. He's clearly had a clear-cut understanding that I'm not able to solve my problems on my own. These are my problems. He kept on ranting in the first chapter. But he understood, I will not be able to solve this problem being in the state of affair in which I created the problem. I have to seek help from someone who is above the problem, or is beyond the problem, who can really help me. So the first lesson for all the youngsters who go through these challenges and difficulties, don't handle this on your own. Express like Arjuna, discuss like Arjuna, approach a mentor who can understand you, who better than Krishna or his bona fide representative, the spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. He said, Shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapanna. I'm confused, perplexed. Now I accept you, Krishna, my dear friend, as my spiritual master. Please instruct me. Until then, he was cribbing, ranting, and discussing, arguing, debating with Krishna. And that was also a good symptom. But majority of youngsters today, they don't do that. They do it with themselves, overthinking, and it gets fully blown up, and they take decisions without consulting anyone. Arjuna's experiences a full-blown anxiety attack. His voice was shaking, his vision was blurred. He cannot function. If you see today's youth report, panic attacks before exams, physical symptoms of stress, trembling, nausea, exhaustion, intense emotional pain during, especially when they go through breakups, and the social rejections. So what are life lessons? Even mighty warrior like Arjuna is allowed to feel weak. Acknowledging distress is important. That's the beginning of healing. Krishna listens in this case without mocking. Example, when Prabhupada arrived in New York in 1965, he lived alone in Bowery Street in New York. During one evening program, his unstable roommate, David Allen, began to hallucinate and accused Prabhupada of harming him. In fear, Prabhupada simply picked up his few belongings and walked out in the winter night. Despite the vulnerability, he did not lose composure. He took shelter of Krishna in chanting and prayers, just as Arjuna turned to the Lord in his moment and collapsed. Of course, this is an example. Acharya sets by his own personal example. There was challenges. He was the drug addict David, with whom Prabhupada was sharing a room, was hallucinating. He was threatening to kill Prabhupada. But Prabhupada didn't lose the composure. Apparently, he seems to be disturbed and fear-struck, but he handled it with composure. Similarly, a lot of examples in our lifetime when we come across such challenges. So if you remember and pause and take actions appropriately based on the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, and that has to be understood in a proper way. This knowledge of Gita has to be assimilated. So somebody can take that decision because he knows how to behave. For that, it has to be trained. So this training is important. Unfortunately, in India or across the globe, this wonderful book of knowledge, or manual for mankind, is not being taught. If this has been taught, majority of our problem will be solved. So second thing is, You have to rise above the emotion. Uh, Sentiment is not equal to solution. You have to rise above the weakness of the heart. Arjuna was weak. He knew it and he approached Krishna. That's what one moment Krishna heard his argument in the first chapter. In the beginning of the second chapter, in fact, in the second chapter, third verses only, he chastises his friend. He says, Karpanya dosho pahato swabhava, Traibam Gamam Partha, Naitatvai Upapadyate, Kshudram Hridaya Dorbalyam, Tekto Tishta Parantapa. O son of Pritha, do not yield to this degrading impotence. A very harsh statement. Give up such petty weakness of heart. Arise, O chastiser of the enemy. This is the word Krishna uses. He hurt him, purposefully is calling him impotent, and also told his weakness, petty weakness, which arise from uh, weakness of the heart. And he also concluded, you are a chastiser of the enemy. Similarly, you should annihilate, kill those enemies which has arisen in the heart. Modern day parallel, emotions like guilt, fear, hopelessness are real, but that should not define us or paralyze us. He was in that situation, Arjuna, but he expressed himself, and he expressed to the right person at the right time, in a right mood, seeking solution. In current examples, after a relationship ends, say for example, youth may spiral into despair. I am not worthy of love. Nobody loves me. Some may think about it over endlessly, about what if I fail in the examination? What will people think about me? What will my parents consider about me? Krishna's response is not about cruelty, but about clarity. All these things hits us like a cruel plans of our own deeds. But Krishna asks us to rise, and understand the difficulty, approach properly to the right source. Uh, Sometimes today's culture says, no, feel your feelings. Krishna says, yes, feel it, but transcend them. To transcend them, just like Arjuna approached Krishna and he transcended the current feelings. Just like Einstein says, you cannot solve the problem being in the situation which you created the problem. You have to rise above, you have to transcend. So in that hopeless situation, you need someone to pick up and lift you and transcend. Or you should be trained in such a way that you don't even ever come to that situation. Hence, Bhagavad Gita has to be part of our lives, day in, day out. Another anecdote I remember of Swami Srila Prabhupada in this connection in 1972, during a morning walk in Los Angeles, a devotee complained about the difficulty of controlling the mind and staying fixed in devotional service. You know, and devotees also go through this because we are just practitioners. Srila Prabhupada immediately stopped and placing his walking stick firmly on the ground, he said, it is difficult, but it's not impossible. You are not this body, but your spirit, soul, and you're part and parcel of Krishna. If you remember this, then you'll not be disturbed. This is what Krishna tells in to Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. Rise above the mental weakness. Remember who you are. I am not this body. I am spirit, soul. I am part and parcel of the Supreme Absolute Truth. Krishna is my well-wisher. Krishna is my friend. And who is Krishna? He is my dearmost well-wisher, all-powerful Supreme Personality of Godhead. And all these issues in which all of us face through youngsters, elderly, kids, the fundamental problem is we consider ourselves to be the body. I am this body, and satisfaction of my body is the prime necessity of my life. Whether it is drugs, whether it is consumption of content online, Netflixing, porn, or anything what gives me pleasure, I do it. You like it, do it, and don't regret it. This is what the theme of today's young generation is. But the fundamental flaw in this understanding is you're seeking for pleasure, you're seeking for happiness, but in a wrong way. Even Bhagavad Gita, even Krishna, or even the spiritualist wants you to enjoy in a real way. But this is not the right way to enjoy, because you're enjoying it totally wrong. Those who are watching this, reframe the self. The self, what you're considering, is not what you see as self. The body, you consider, ye apun hai, apun ko sharir hai, and whatever the sharir demands, I do it. Work. I want to see beautiful things, I see. I want to hear nice things, I hear. I want to taste the palatables in the world, and I taste it. No discrimination. And that is a fundamental cause. Yu hi sansavshaja bhoga dukkha yona evate. When the sense come in touch with sense object, that is source of miseries. It has a beginning and an end. It is nectar in the beginning, but painful in the end. On the contrary, when you start enjoying on the spiritual plane, it might be seemingly painful, difficult, hardships, but later it becomes nectar. We should have that patience. Unfortunately, we don't have that. So, coming to the point, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita emphatically, many places he declares that you are not the body. Starting from 2.13, he says, as the embodied soul passes continuously from childhood to youth to old age, similarly the soul at death passes from one body to another body. A self-realized, a sober person is not bewildered by such a change. We are not the body. We are spirit souls. That is what we are. That is who we are. The whole anxiety, tension is because of this fundamental misunderstanding, wrong understanding, or a false foundation that I am this body. So the anxiety thrives when identity is fragile. You don't know who you are. And today's young generation, they don't know who they are, what they are. In the Western world, if you have to address them, you have to ask their pronoun. How did you think that I am he? How did you consider me to be she? Identification crisis. And because they're overly attached how they look, especially because of the modern likes and dislikes and views, and they want to appear in a particular way. They have a false notion of beauty. But I'm not the body itself. I'm something within the body. See the transformation which brings you into the youthful life? Huh? That's what happens. Huh? Youth attach worth to physical appearance, followers, grades, or relationship status. You're still a single? Come on, grow up. Losing this feels like losing oneself. Who am I if I'm not liked, loved, or successful? Paisa is important, and I work hard, I struggle, I slog. I want to impress people. I want to be loved and cared, on a notion that this body is what which gives me pleasure, gives me happiness. But you are not the body. You are just this dress. I changed this dress, and I'm not this dress. I'm the person within. Similarly, this body is like a dress. I'm not. I'm the driver of this vehicle. Yantra Rudani Maya, Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita teaches that you are not this temporary body. You are the eternal soul, unchanging, ever pure. It is the deepest therapy. This is not escapism. It liberates us from dependency on fleeting identities. You are a kid, you are a youngster, you are a middle-aged person, you are an old-aged man. Different identities. Oh, you are a science student, or you are a doctor. All are different identities, are fleeting identities. In fact, Swami Prabhupada in this connection was asked by a student in San Francisco, what if I don't feel like I'm soul? Because Prabhupada emphatically always, in all his lectures and discourses, he would emphasize, you're not the body, you're spirit soul, you're not the body, you're spirit soul. So this devotee, I don't feel like I'm spirit soul, I'm body. So Prabhupada said, then chant. This is a process. Not that you must feel, you must hear from the authority. First hear, then realization comes. This reveals the transformative power of Shravanam, hearing the spiritual truth even before fully understanding it emotionally or practically. Prabhupada emphasized identity as Atma, not emotion or body. So you have to hear it from a right source. I began, you have to hear it from a right source, Krishna. Similarly, you have to hear from authority. That's what Krishna says in the Gita. Tad vidhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te gnanam gnanena tattvadarshana. You have to approach a bona fide spiritual master. Hear from him attentively. He will reveal you the truth because he has soon seen the truth. Pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya. Surrender, ask relevant questions, and do seva. Even to get normal mundane knowledge also. In the university, you do these three things. But that leads you to somewhere else. But here also, you have to do these three things, but that leads you to eternal bliss. Provided the spiritual master is authorized. He is coming from a bona fide spiritual parampara, in the parampara, and he repeats it exactly as it is. Swami Prabhupada is from that parampara, stemming from Krishna himself, Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. It's very imperative. Because you go to a doctor, you have some ailment, and you came to know that eventually, because it didn't work, he was a quack. So it's imperative to know the doctor is a genuine doctor. A lawyer is recognized to practice. A college is authorized by the university. Similarly, the bona fide spiritual master whom you approach has to be authorized. Otherwise, this also leads to chaos. With hope that you land into wanting to happiness, seeming to be similar, you are not the body or spirit soul, but the spiritual master cheats you. That's another big trauma. It's abuse of the faith. Just like Arjuna approached, and imagine the person whom he approached, hypothetical case, he is not authorized, he is not empowered, he's not in the parampara, and he, instead of helping you, he further damages you, your spirit, by not giving you the truth, because you surrender to that person. That's why you have to be very extremely careful. Whom do you vouch upon? In this world of cheaters and the cheated, majority of us want to be cheated because you want something very cheap, very easily, and that's why cheaters come. And this is also a very important point. Fifth point is act without attachment. That gives you inner peace and satisfaction. Because moment you're attached, and if you don't get what you are attached to, that leads to a lot of pain, whether it's a gadget or a relationship you want, or a prospective job or a rank which you deserve. And when you don't get it in spite of your hard work and endeavors, you get devastated. And that is a fundamental cause of mental agony today. It's not about only youngsters, women, kids, elderly men, married men, and women, both are equally susceptible to such distractions. That's why Krishna, in the famous verse, which is most abused verse or most interpreted verse also, that is the second chapter, 47th verse, Karmanye Vadikaraste verse, where he says, you have a right to perform your duty, but you're not entitled for the fruits of action. This is a big revelation. Imagine you have a right to perform your duty. You have a right, you do perform it, but that duty has to be prescribed duty. Now I perform arbitrary duty, and my whims and fancies duty based on my contaminated mind's thoughts and intelligence. I do it, and I expect the result to be in my favor. Or if it goes also against, it's not prescribed duty has to be performed. Somebody has to prescribe it. Now people don't know what is my duty altogether as a human being. The only duty is you have to understand who you are, whom you belong to, and just do that duty. That is Krishna consciousness. Rest other things are all external maintenance of the body. Just like car, I said, we are the car and the driver. So you are giving importance to the maintenance of the vehicle. Yes, maintenance is important. But more important than the maintenance is of the vehicle, what should I do with the vehicle to reach my destination? The destination is important. Unfortunately, the destination is not what the real destination which you are supposed to. Our contaminated mind and intelligence redirect towards us to some other so-called goals, and the soul goes in circles in different species of life. And coming back to this point, this is very important. You have a right to perform your duty, but you're not entitled for the fruits of action. Never consider yourself the cause of the result, because there are many, many factors. Krishna in the 18th chapter, 13, 14 verse tells about 5 factors of success. Your endeavor is just one aspect. When you come to know, oh, there are many factors. Oh, it's not my hard work only. Even just coming before, I was just surfing the news. 5 centuries. 5 Indian batsmen hit centuries, still lost. Many factors. You have to field also properly. You have to catch the ball also properly. There are many factors. Just giving a parallel example. So if you're attached to the result and you don't get the result, you get panicked. That's what you get attached for doing your duty, whatever it is, based on the prescribed duty which is given to you. And when you focus on the process, the result is automatic. And you know the result whether, because everyone will be following the process, but somebody will get somebody. There are many factors. Karma is one such big factor. If you deserve it, it'll fall on your kitty. It'll fall on your lap. If it's not in your package, no matter how hard you try, you will not get it. It's a reality. All this, some other philosophy with youngsters go through it. पूरी शिद्दत से चाहोगे पूरा खयानात एक होके आपको दिलाएगा. पूरी शिद्दत से चाहता मैं प्राइम मिनिस्टर बनूं. पूरी शिद्दत से चाहता मैंने MIT में कंप्यूटर साइंस लूं. It doesn't happen like that. Even if it happens, your greed will increase. If it doesn't happen, you become depressed. But Krishna is not telling that. Don't go after the results. Do your duty. And this gives you a lot of clarity, a lot of peace of mind. You just do as a matter of duty. You're not. Your result doesn't define you, especially youngsters who are doing this. They're very much obsessed with the way the result has to appear. Don't worry about the result. Worry about the process. Even the process, what you're doing as you're working, studies, that doesn't define you. That you're doing just to maintain this body and soul together so that you can practice spiritual life. If that is the goal, the secondary becomes easy if your primary is clear. Because the modern youths, they suffer deeply from performance pressure. What if I don't get into the college? IIT nahi mila to kya hoga? NIT to mil jaye to kya hoga? What if I'm not good enough? What if my startup fails? What if she rejects me? What if she blocks me? What if my parents are not happy with me? Especially Indians, so from a middle class family, a lot of anxiety, UPSC, IIT, a government job, AI taking over. And all this results in burnout, chronic anxiety. And they quit, low self-worth, they commit suicide. What is Krishna's solution? Do your best. Rest leave it to Krishna. But surrender the results. Don't tie your peace to outcomes. This frees us from imperfectionisms and allows inner calm amidst outer chaos. This comes from unrealistic movies. We see in the movie perfectionism. We see in the reels artificial beauty standards. We think that I also can be like that. My jawline can be like that. My nose can be like that. My eyes can be like that. And these days, especially youngsters, they go through lot to keep themselves looking good. But I'm not the body. Just see the freedom you get. In this connection, I remembered Prabhupada's anecdote. In 76, Prabhupada was discussing about book distribution with his disciples. One devotee lamented about falling short of the target which he kept for himself, that I should distribute a number of Gitas. And then he was really depressed and disappointed about the outcome, that he couldn't succeed in getting what he targeted for. So we also have spiritual transcendental competitions. So Prabhupada replied to him, we are not concerned with success or failure. There is no failure in Krishna consciousness. Come again? There is no failure in Krishna consciousness. You are simply here to please Krishna. Simple as that. Krishna sees how much you are endeavoring. Krishna decides what result should be. I'm just an instrument in his hand. If you so desire, if you so wish. This is what Prabhupada said when he was in a mammoth task of spreading the glories of the Lord all across the globe. We were just landing in Jaladuta in in Boston port, he prayed to the Lord, I'm an insignificant beggar. I'm a puppet in your hands. Make me dance the way you want me to dance. Make my words suitable for their understanding. I don't know how will I be able to preach this message of yours. The people are full of tamoguna and rajoguna. I don't know why you brought me to this horrible place. If you have something for me planned, chalked out, let that be. If you so wish, if you so desire. Despite monumental efforts and setbacks in preaching, Prabhupada never lost composure because his offering was detached yet full of devotion. See, just imagine if you apply this in our life. And the fifth point is the source of real peace is the spiritual connection. Bhagavad Gita, second chapter, I think 66th verse. He says, yes. Nasti buddhir ayuktasya na chayuktasya bhavana. One who is not in transcendental consciousness can have neither a controlled mind nor a steady intelligence, without which there is no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? You all want peace and happiness. And how can you get that without having the controlled mind and steady intelligence? Youngsters, what you're doing to control the mind, have a steady intelligence. If you answer this question, the solution is there. And the beauty of Krishna consciousness is you don't have to artificially suppress yourself by, control my mind, control. No, it doesn't happen like that. Or you should have a refined intelligence. We're all gone today, gone to dogs. Correct, no? Because of the infinite knowledge via chat GPT, internet, there is zero peace. And why? Because the connection to self or divine is missing. Krishna is missing. You can know your MBTI type. You can know your type of intelligence. Follow self-help gurus. Read self-helping books. Have thousands of friends online. But still feel utterly alone. Completely lost. Possible? And it's happening right in front of you. It's happening to you. And Krishna teaches that peace is not found in information, but in spiritual realization. Connection to Krishna, the Supreme Person, personality of God, is the source of all mental equilibrium. But how do you do that? Simple, by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In fact, once in Vrindavan, Prabhupada was walking and he pointed out a peacock and said, see, he's happy. The peacock was having its... he was in a blissful state. And why? Because the bird is in his natural position. He's not confiscated. He's not behind bars. He's not hooked on to... So he explained that unless the soul is connected with the source, I'm the Ansha, I'm part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. If I'm not connected with, there will always be disturbance. No external arrangement can give you true peace, because peace is the product of surrender. Just like a kid is crying, is on top of its voice is crying. Imagine a cry of the baby. And you give him chocolates, you give him toys, you give him best of the food. It can give him some solace for some time. But unless his mother comes and pats him, he will not be satisfied. Similarly, unless we come in connection with Krishna and engage in practical devotional service, we can never be in peace. So that's why you should have a what is resolution? Resolution or solution, or the way forward is regaining our spiritual clarity. That's why we should read this Gita. In the 18th chapter, 73rd verse, he tells Arjuna, after hearing this Gita, what does Arjuna conclude? Arjuna in the first chapter, you remember? Arjuna in the 18th chapter, mighty Krishna, my illusion is gone. I've regained my memories, pratilabdha. By your mercy, I am now firm, free from doubt. I am prepared to act. according to your instructions. Karishye vachanam tava. Arjuna's journey ends in victory, not because the battlefield disappears, but because his mind is healed, his doubts removed, and his soul awakened, and he's guided by the Lord personally. That's what we have to do. We have to be guided by the Lord. Pick up this book, read this, get guided by the Lord, have his personal association by chanting his names. Like Prabhupada in 1977, during his final days in Vrindavan, he was physically incapacitated, barely able to speak, yet he spoke. He gave the purports of Srimad Bhagavatam. I've done everything. Now Krishna will do the rest. And this was full Smriti Labdha, perfect clarity and surrender. Whatever I've spoken, need to be spoken, I've given in my books. Even in the face of death, Prabhupada was fearless because he was fully awakened in his spiritual identity. He was always in his fully awakened spiritual identity. He gives us an example how to do that. So, conclusion: Krishna consciousness is the ultimate therapy for all mental agonies. In fact, Srila Prabhupada boldly stated this. Anyone who is not in Krishna consciousness is to be taken as crazy or mad. समझ रहे हो? Of course, this is not an insult, but a compassionate diagnosis. To forget the soul and chase temporary illusions is a root madness of modern life. But the Bhagavad Gita offers a way out. Mental health begins with spiritual health. Krishna consciousness is the most practical, universal, and time-tested solutions. The hippies, the worst of mankind, they were lost completely. But Prabhupada brought Krishna consciousness into their life and made them happy. Similarly, thousands of students of youngsters coming in touch with Krishna consciousness has transformed their lives. So I implore all of you, those who are going through these difficulties, just chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, at least for 10 minutes, 108 times, and refer the Gita. And if you want to contact us, the number is given in the description. We'll personally help you out to grow through your difficulties and challenges and become truly happy and blissful. Thank you so much for patiently hearing me. Hare Krishna.